Hello, hello. Welcome to the Dough Show. I'm your host, Joyce Day, and I'm here today with Jamie Rachi. Am I saying that right?
Yep, you got it.
Awesome. Hi, Jamie. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Thank you. So, Jamie and I are super excited. We're on our New Year's Christmas break here where we've got some time to talk
Mhm.
because Jamie, her topic today that we're going to be exploring is how to build your doTERRA business while working a corporate job. In fact, can people who are working a full-time corporate job, can they build a business? Which of course we know the answer is yes, but we're going to dive into that today with Jamie and just explore what does that look like? How do we make that work? How do we inspire other people who are working corporate jobs to want to do this sort of thing. So Jamie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your doTERRA story? How did you get started? How long have you been with us? And where are you at right now with your business?
Sure. Yep. So I've been building the business for 4 years. Currently, I'm a diamond, so I've been diamond at a year so far, and married, have 3 beautiful children. I live in Iowa. It's super cold right now, but it won't be cold forever. I keep telling myself. And I was brought to oils mostly through mood management. I was getting sick a lot because I was not sleeping. It was as a result of a miscarriage. My hormones never bounced back, and I was not falling asleep. So really suffering through that, and it was affecting my mood, and of course, as you can imagine, affecting many parts of my life. And so was introduced to essential oils. Nothing else was working, and of course, that was the missing ingredient, was using essential oils. So I was able to sleep. My immune system bounced back, and so since then, I've loved every minute of empowering others who specifically struggle with mood management.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
so you've had a full-time job the whole time you've been. So you got started, you were
Mhm.
having these health issues. You were introduced to the oils and you started using them. Did you dive right into the business right away? How long did you use the oils before you considered the business? Well, let's start with that. We'll kind of go from
Sure.
there.
Yeah. So the business found me. People always say, the business found them. Well, the business really did find me. I didn't start using oils because I wanted to start a business with doTERRA. Mostly people saw the change in me and they saw that I was trying something that was actually helping me with sleep. Family, friends, they knew I always struggled. So when I started to turn the corner, I would then share with them what I was doing. And after a while, that sharing turned into building. I didn't really understand exactly what I was doing or what that even meant. And then when I started getting paid for sharing with people, all that I had learned about using oils for mood management and immune system, it just happened very organically. But I'd say it was over the course of 8 months that I was using oils for myself, for our family, really creating that belief in the products, not just with the mood and the immune system, but for the other products as well. And then after going to my first convention is when it really kicked off, and then I started to understand the company and the heart of the company, and I could not ignore what they were trying to do for the world. I'm a huge sucker for humanitarian work. So when I could root myself in something that I believed was deeply meaningful, it wasn't just about the oils anymore. It was way more than just the oils. So I caught a flame in that, and I didn't want to stop talking about it.
That is so cool. So, okay, so 8 months go by, you're kind of sharing, you're using stuff, your family, talking about it with your family and friends. You're still working this full-time job. So tell us, do you mind
Sure.
sharing a little bit? I find it interesting. What is your full-time job? Did it fit in
Sure.
oils or was it corporate banking? Like how did that what
Sure.
are behind that?
Yeah. So actually, when I started my oils journey, I was working part-time. I'm a fertility care practitioner, so I teach couples how to avoid and achieve pregnancy naturally. And so it was pretty flexible, my job. So I was able to easily fit sharing doTERRA and being a practitioner in. But while I was on my doTERRA journey and while I was exploring and dreaming about the possibilities of what my life could look like, if my husband and I had more financial freedom than we did at the time, my husband's a teacher, that's when I started really vision casting for myself. So I actually am the founder of a nonprofit, of a women's healthcare center called Guiding Star Cedar Valley. And so doTERRA allowed me and almost taught me how to dream for myself. So while I was building this doTERRA business, had a part-time job, I started a nonprofit that took up so much time, but it was my why. Like it was one of those things where, you know, people ask you, what would you do? Like if you never got paid another day in your life, what would you do? It's what I'm doing now. And so really I started this big dream, took a lot of time, job once I got into doTERRA, which is interesting because most people think, okay, I have my full-time job. I'm going to start doTERRA so I can retreat because maybe this job I'm doing during the day is not my dream. It's not my passion project. I really want to spend, you know, more time with family and really live the passions that I'm hoping for. But for me, it kind of flipped. The daytime job that I'm doing is empowering women, embracing children, and enriching families by providing life-affirming healthcare, not just in that fertile period of womanhood, but also throughout her pregnancy and then after. So really affirming women and providing that breastfeeding support, really affirming women in her motherhood and that pregnancy by providing pregnancy support, doula care, and then of course before she's pregnant, providing education regarding her fertility. And so it really worked hand in hand, this holistic life affirming approach of this healthcare model. It worked perfectly, you know, in terms of where my mind had gone and how I had developed in regards to my own feeling and position in regards to like health. So honestly, being introduced to essential oils helped me like wrap my head around what holistic healthcare even was. And it gave me a different perspective and a renewed lens to even viewing the human body. And so anyway, so in terms of how I managed that, a lot of prayer, and a lot of communicating with my husband, most definitely. We had to be on the same page before I moved any further because it was a huge challenge. And then also having grace for yourself, giving yourself grace as much as possible, like living in gratitude instead of, you know, living in the I shoulds, like just being thankful. That doTERRA is part of our life, even though maybe in a certain month or a certain week I can't give it my all. It's because, you know, I'm giving what I can to my family, to the passion project, and then doTERRA really has ridden alongside of that. And I remember like dreaming to be a diamond. I remember like, if I could just get to be a diamond, then I could really live this passion without having a strain of finance. Like I really could live that life of like, I'm doing this because I feel like it's my purpose, with no financial strain. Because I think a lot of nonprofits have that strain. You know, they maybe lose that fire because they feel strapped for money. I didn't want to ever lose that passion. So I remember being desperate to find a diamond person who worked. Like I was desperate. I'm like, is it possible? Yeah. I remember at a wellness summit, they're like, any questions? Like doTERRA was traveling around and I rose my hand. I'm like, do you know of any diamonds that work? Because I really don't, I'm not going to quit my job, but I aspire to be a diamond and above. Is that even possible? And I couldn't, like, I didn't get a ton of, it wasn't encouraging in terms of their response. So I want to be that encouragement to people who really do want to keep their day job or start a day job while working doTERRA.
Yeah. Well, I love that, Jamie. And I'm going to chime in here because I fully appreciate, and I've been exactly where you're talking about too. I was working a full-time corporate job when I found doTERRA, and I was actually praying for a way out of my corporate job. I was literally on my knees praying every day. Like, God, I love what I do, and I love that I got here, and I never thought I would leave this career, but I had a baby, and I just couldn't stand that she was spending 50 hours a week in daycare. Yeah. So that was my why initially, was getting, doing whatever it took to get myself there. I could not see any other options. I made a great salary. I had a great career, and I couldn't see we built our lives around two professional corporate incomes. So we had a big house payment, we had the car payments, we had all the stuff. And I literally did everything I could think of to, like, how could we cut our bills down? But I mean, I was even, by the end of that time period, right before I found doTERRA, I was having dreams about selling our house. And that really freaked my husband out. So I ended up, when I was introduced to doTERRA, and I saw the benefit, the potential in the business opportunity right away, but I was super skeptical of the oils because I'd only ever been around, even though I've always been into natural stuff with my career, I had only experienced really low quality oils, and I just thought it was like they were just junk products. I didn't realize. So once I found that and jumped into it, it was a crazy journey to get there, but ended up, I think it depends sometimes on what people's goals are. I love that your goal was the passion project, and that's what pushed you to do this, because it's no joke to build a doTERRA business. It's not like, oh, I just taught a class here and there and woke up one day and was diamond.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about that. It took you a few years to get there, and you're working a lot of hours, you're doing all these things. So I know what I did to make it work, but I want to hear from you. What kind of things did you do to make it work? How did you find time to teach? How did you fit in your hours? I mean, there's a lot of like sitting at the computer kind of doing odds and ends type of stuff. How did you fit that in? And then how did you find builders and duplicate? How did you help them to build their businesses? So let's talk about that.
Sure. So to start, I guess, in terms of how did I squeeze it in, by nature, and we talked about this a little bit, but if you haven't taken the strengths assessment, like people who are watching take it, but I just am highly driven. I'm like a dog that sees steak like across the highway. I'm gonna like go get the steak at all costs. Now, I know not everyone is like that. I think that has served as an advantage because, if you're strategic enough for your capsules of time, and if your motivation's high enough, you will find the time. And if you build in rest and you follow that commitment to rest, you won't burn out as quickly. Of course, I burnt out several times in the journey. Like, oh, burnout, I got to take like a few weeks and just let my mind rest, let my body rest, spend time with my family. So my husband and I, this is what we did. We talked about like our week's schedule. So I have 2 nights a week that I don't need to necessarily run past my husband. Can I teach a class this night? Would it be okay if I was gone this night? I just know that those 2 nights are my nights where if there's a membership overview or a class I need to schedule, those are the 2 nights that I have. And if I need to, a Saturday morning. Sundays are off limits for us. There's no builder meetings, even from my upline. I don't go to, if it's a Sunday, anything, I say family, because if that is not built in, I personally, the temptation for me is to just give myself 24/7, 100% all the time. And so I think if you resonate with that, if people listening resonate with that, you have to build in rest, because you will absolutely find yourself hitting against a brick wall. Mm-hmm. So block scheduling has saved me big time. Block scheduling is when you predetermine when you're going to work on something and what you're going to work on. So like Monday nights, for instance, that's my husband and I's doTERRA date night. We get our wine, he gets his computer, I get mine. It's like we're on a date. We can chit chat, like we can chit chat, but we're both working. He's writing the reports or doing number stuff. I'm asking him to whatever. It was not always like that. So obviously, like, he probably would have never imagined he'd be like my partner in crime with all of this, but with his support, it's made it a lot easier. Mm-hmm. So I'd say it's probably a bit easier now because that buy-in from my husband is there. And I think that buy-in from the husband comes when they start to see like, oh, all this work is paying off in terms of the financial benefit. So that's in terms of scheduling, block scheduling, and like making it fun. Something I realized when you have a daytime job, and my job is stressful, like, and it just is, like when you're starting something new, it always is. And what keeps you moving forward is that vision and that passion. But I, and many people probably can't it's hard to mentally wrap your mind around all that you're doing. So as much as I can, I envision doTERRA as my social time, as fun, and as date. Even though it's challenging and even though it's hard at times, like, because it's not a joke, like you were saying, Joyce, like, it's not like, oh, I woke up one night and I'm doTERRA, but I think it is your mind frame and how you put doTERRA in your life. Is doTERRA in your life hardcore gangster 100% job, or is it like, how do you envision it? Because in my mind I had to reprogram my brain to envision it as super fun. It's a chance I get to collaborate. It's a chance I get to see my husband at night and hang out with him. So that mentally has helped me a ton.
Yeah, I think that is really important. And to just acknowledge, I love that you said that earlier, that you're going to make space for those times when you are not feeling it, that you're feeling frustrated or burned out, or I call it doTERRA depression.
Yeah, that's good.
You have a little spell of doTERRA depression in there.
Yeah.
There's going to be hard times, or you're going to go through personal life situations that are going to throw you for a loop. And you really got to make space for that. I want to contribute a little bit of this too, because like I said, I worked that full-time corporate job. One of the things that helped me is that, sometimes I love time blocking, although I'm not always good at doing the things I said I was going to do during that time, but it is a great tool. But one of the things that saved me when I was doing it that first year, I was working my corporate job around 50 hours a week, sometimes with travel, all different sorts of things, sometimes working outside, sometimes writing technical reports, in the office, sometimes traveling. It was all different. So look, I really survived a lot that first year with those small little slivers of time. Things times that I normally probably would have just worked, because I am, like you, a very driven person. But I could stay committed to my job, and I was really driven while I was there. But those extra times that I used to just kind of work through, like my husband would leave for work at 7 a.m, and he usually took Ella to daycare, my daughter. And so he had to be out the door by 7 to drop her off. And then I would get up early with him, get myself ready, get him ready, or not get him ready, he could get himself ready, but get my daughter ready. I was nursing at the time, so nurse her. He would take her and head out the door, and then I would finish getting ready, and I had to be at work by 8 o'clock. So when I started doing doTERRA, that became this little sliver of like 30 to 40 minutes. Hopefully I would try really hard to be completely ready so that I could nurse her, hand off the baby, send them out the door, and then I could sit at my computer for 45 minutes and like plan and strategize, get people added to my Facebook group, do some Facebook posts, whatever it was I needed to do in that 45 minutes. And then the other thing, and could I do it every single day? No. Some days I had to be there early, or I was traveling, or the baby was sick, or something that it didn't work out. But that time became really valuable to me. Even though it was this tiny little chunk of time, it really, I remember so many days of sitting at the computer that few minutes and like, how much can I squeeze in before I have to jet out the door and get to work by 8? Yeah. The other thing was my lunch hours. I used to just work through my lunch hours, right? So I actually stopped working. I would go for walks. So I would do some prep time. Sometimes in the mornings, I would go on the internet and I would search out lists of like businesses. Like initially I was really focused on my cold market. I didn't want to approach my friends and family. And so I did a lot of cold market work. So I would make a list of massage therapists in the community, or I'd pick another town like 20 minutes away and go through and find chiropractors, find massage therapists, like anybody they thought their clients would benefit from learning about the oils. And then I would write down their names and numbers. I would look at their websites. Do they mention oils anywhere? Do my homework. And then I would just make a list of all that information. And then on my lunch hour, I would go outside. I would go for a walk and like find a spot to kind of hide out away. I didn't do it in my office. I felt like that would be weird. But I found a little private place to go. And then I would just sit and do cold calls for that whole hour. And that actually paid off. I mean, I made hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cold calls, guys. So we should do a whole thing about cold calling, because it's not easy. It's not like everybody I called just magically signed up. They say like, I think like 90%, 80 or 90% of people that you cold call, I used to know these stats really well, they will not respond in any way. 10% will respond, but not want anything to do with you. They'll respond sometimes to be like, no. And then you occasionally find that those needles in the haystack that sign up. And that was a way that I was able to build my team. I actually built team in other areas. I did that with Diamond Club. So that lunchtime hour became very valuable to me to keep growing and keep finding people to talk to and fill that list of, we all have to have a list of new people to talk to. Like, it's mandatory. And if you don't have a job, family, business, for me, I did it cold calling because I had a pretty small network at that time, and I didn't want to hit my family and friends up right off the bat because I wasn't confident yet. So I just want to throw those things in there. If you find yourself working a full-time job, and even if it's not full-time, even if you're working part-time, but you've got kids and all this other stuff going on, I love the way you described it, Jamie, that if your motivation was high enough, and how did you say, if your motivation's high enough and your
vision, maybe passion?
Yeah. If you really want to do this, you can find a way to do it. And then, like you said, just give yourself the grace that you're going to feel really discouraged. Let's talk again too. One of the things, I just am curious how this affected you. I remember my first few paychecks. So I think it can be really hard for people working corporate jobs with professional incomes, because I wanted to replace my income, at least my take-home income, so that I could quit my job. But I remember my first monthly paycheck with doTERRA was like $11. Yeah. So what was your thoughts on that? Like, it's hard sometimes for corporate people to realize, and it's really, you don't have to be in a job to realize that. People don't realize it takes time to build this up. It's like building a retirement account. You don't dump money into it for a couple months and then expect to start taking money out of it. So what was your experience with that, with the financial evolution?
Yeah. So for me, like, looking back to then, when my husband was not on board, he was supportive, but he wasn't necessarily my buddy, my doTERRA buddy. So yeah, when we started getting paid, probably for a good year, like, it was always a temptation to stop. There was always a temptation to stop the doTERRA business. And I remember there's this video, I can't even remember the guy, and maybe it's like maybe a higher up there in rank, but he just talks about how much, like, his first paycheck was, and then now how every minute he gets paid what his first paycheck was. And he basically says, just don't stop. So for whatever reason, I watched that video at the right time, the right day, and I just kept thinking, just don't stop. Mm-hmm. Take breaks, walk if you need to instead of sprint the whole way, but just don't stop moving, because I had faith enough that it would work, mostly because my direct upline, Bailey King, she's Presidential Diamond.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know? Oh, yeah. So she's like, what is that?
I know Bailey.
Yeah. So she, like, modeled it. Like, she was a friend, and she, like, was doing it right before my eyes. So it didn't take, that belief was there because I saw it. You got to see to believe, people. Like, I'm kind of that way sometimes. And so I saw that it can happen right before my eyes. So that probably also encouraged me. And then her mentorship, like, she was going through each of the, like, stepping, like, the, whatever that saying is, she was walking the path before me. Mm-hmm. So she was able to give good guidance.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit. I know we've got to wrap up here in just a few minutes. One of the last things I think we'll talk about is, how did you find your builders? How do you work with them and support them? What, like, mm-hmm. that can hold people back from really going for building, because they feel like, I've got enough to do. It's one thing to even share the oils, but now I'm supposed to lead people in the business opportunity. So let's talk a little more about that.
Yep. I, like, am so strongly rooted in collaboration and empowering my builders. So my builders are my friends. Like, they were friends from before. There are a couple builders that became qualifiers that I didn't know before necessarily, and I've come to know, but I first and foremost call them friends. And everybody might have a different perspective on that, but I know that when our relationship is authentic and genuine, that our business is authentic and genuine, because we all work together. So I really do see my builders as peers, as people that are just as capable as I am, the difference between us and me and them is just the timeline, you know, and maybe the numbers of classes we've taught and maybe not. And so in terms of finding them, I just find that with practice, when I'm teaching a class, it's not scary for me anymore to talk about the business. It was before, it's not anymore because it's become habit and I'm confident in the business. I find that people have a hard time bringing the business up when they themselves are not sure of it. But when we're sure of it, we bring it up and there's nothing to be ashamed of. You know, we're the minority, we're not the rule. Like, we are a different kind of company. There's nothing to be ashamed of. We can shout it from the rooftops that we're a doTERRA wellness advocate, that I'm a diamond, that I'm doing this as a business. There's nothing to be ashamed of, and people catch that from you. So when that clicked for me, and when I learned and developed myself enough to understand and realize that, I think it only comes with time and with practice, then it was so much easier for me to find builders. My qualifiers, I'm thankful to have grown in relationship and friendship with them, because I realize that's not always the case. And I think it's because of our collaborative nature and our ability to be humble and know, especially when you're working during the day, that you can't do it all. I can say that our most fruitful mentor calls were us collaborating on an idea, like together as a group. So bringing my builders together as a collaboration. And now, like, if they have questions, sometimes they ask each other. And that's great for me because that's sustaining my life. Like, so in whatever way I can kind of outsource anything, like my friends they're smart. These builders are smart, capable humans that have hearts to serve, that can serve other people. Like, I'm not the only person who can give good advice. So I think when I started realizing that to sustain my life, to have a healthy, happy life, I don't need to be everything for everybody. And I can empower my builders to help each other, to help others. And it's just going to create a very authentic environment and not something that causes stress or anxiety.
That's awesome. So you do weekly calls? I love the nuts and bolts, the details. Do you have weekly meetings with your builders? Do you do like monthly business, like for new builders, like launch camp? Like, how do you make it work? Like, specific?
Sure. Yeah. I feel like I hear this from other doTERRA people too, but things change for me like a lot. I feel like the more I can point fingers back to doTERRA website or to doTERRA launch guides, to doTERRA build guides, the more I can rely on those items, the more sustained my business will be. Because when I'm showing a new builder the build guide, they know they get the build guide, they show the build guide as well. Yeah. So in terms of like nuts and bolts, I don't know if you've ever heard of the app Voxer.
I've heard of it. I don't remember what it is.
It's like a walkie-talkie app. Instead of waiting the time to call somebody, ring, leave a message, you like literally walkie-talkie them. And so in my world, finding time is very challenging, but Voxer has made my life in many areas so much easier. So it allows a touch point for me always. I don't need to schedule. We do schedule calls, and my husband now is taking over that role, which is awesome. But it's like a touch point because you always kind of want to be in the groove. And you always want to be really upfront with your schedule. If you're working during the day, it is very, very real that you're not going to be as available as somebody who is available all day. It's just the fact. So if you let your builders know that up front, they're going to know that they can't rely on you for everything. They have to go somewhere else. And I feel like that's how my business has been strengthened, is I have to outsource all the time. And so quarterly business meetings, but I'm trying to evaluate that in my team, figuring out what that looks like. We have upline business meetings from Bailey, who's our presidential diamond. She offers them quarterly as well. I was trying to do the same, and I feel like just still trying to reevaluate. So for you guys, if you have upline support who offers a big training, try to tap in to as many resources that already exist so you don't spend your time and energy trying to recreate something that is already in existence because of your limited time resource.
Okay. Awesome, Jamie. Well, thank you so much for jumping on here with me. I know what a big deal it is, and taking some of your valuable time on your vacation to jump on here with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
our listeners are going to just eat this up. And I hope that we've encouraged you guys that are listening that, if you want it, like Jamie said, if you really want this and you want to create, for me, it's about lifestyle. It started with doTERRA and now it's grown from there, but really it's about creating a lifestyle that really works for me. And doTERRA fits that. That's my big picture, like vision for my life. And doTERRA fits so perfectly into that, that I can create an income for myself and a lifestyle, a business lifestyle that's going to fit and work just the way I want it to. Jamie, you're an excellent example of that. You have a vision for what you want to give back to the world, and you're out there doing it. And doTERRA gives us that opportunity. Such a beautiful thing. So, well, thank you, Jamie. If you have questions for Jamie, is there a way that they can reach out to you or find you, email, something like that?
Yeah. If you find me on Facebook, Jamie Rathjen, Rathjen. You can also email me at jam, Jam, and my last name, Rathjen, @gmail.com.
Awesome.
Either way.
And then you can also comment below. If you have questions, feel free to comment below, or you can always reach me at the dough show feedback @gmail.com, the dough show feedback @gmail.com. If you have topic ideas, questions about one of our interviews, anything like that, if you've got a doTERRA superpower that you think needs to be covered on here, by all means reach out. This is just something fun that I thought was needed. It's kind of like a living library of amazing doTERRA leaders sharing their doTERRA superpowers. That's really what it's all about. So thanks for joining me today. Jamie, I can't wait to hook up. We're going to have to hang out some more because I think we are kindred spirits here.
I think we are, Joyce. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, you take good care. Happy New Year. And we'll see you guys next time on The Dough Show.